So, very good evening to one and all. At Dignity Foundation, it has been our endeavor to conduct informative sessions that offer practical tips in the areas of physical wellness and spirituality. Our sessions also offer opportunities of social connectedness and entertainment. My name is Madiha Sharik. I'm the program manager at Dignity Foundation's NCR chapter, and I welcome all of you to today's session. The best way to protect yourself is to know what to expect when you're online. We are very happy to see that our members have joined us today because of their keenness to know more about how they can remain safe when they are online. We are happy to have with us our trustee, Mr. Vijay Pava, and other dignitarians amongst us today. I would also like to welcome our resource person from Cyber Trust and Safety Working Group of Broadband India Forum. Today, they will be discussing about cyber threats, tips to be safe online, how to report a cybercrime, and more. In case you have any questions during the presentation, I would request all of you to put them in the chat box. We will address all the questions and more during the Q&A session after the presentation. It is my pleasure today to invite now Mr. Vijay Pava for the opening remarks. Mr. Pava is a veteran marketing professional, having worked for several companies in senior positions. In July 2017, he joined Dignity Foundation as an advisory council member. He was offered the position of trustee in 2019. He also represents National Skills Development Corporation as a director in Rubber Skills Development Council. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Madiha. Thank you, everyone, for joining this evening. I hope at the end of the session, you will not have any regrets and you would have gained better knowledge of the subject. And I would very much like to welcome, Madiha, would you introduce BIF, the Broadband India Foundation? Broadband India Foundation is relatively a new organization, couple of years old, and it was founded by Mr. T.V. Ramachandran, TVR as he is called, and I were colleague way back 30 years in Dunlop. We worked together in Dunlop. And I'm fortunate to have continued my association friendship with him. He is the founder director. Next one. And very briefly, this is something which is very dear to my heart, and I'm very sure that so would it be to all of you. Sitting where we are sitting, we do not realize how blessed we are to be connected to internet. Connectivity to internet gives us the pleasure and to be connected with our children wherever they are. In my case, they are all abroad. It gives us the pleasure of watching Netflix. It gives us the pleasure of being in touch over WhatsApp. But we are very, very small percentage of the population in this country who are blessed to be connected with internet. If you look at the mission statement, and this is where I think is something very important out of the various objectives that this particular organization has got, is to reach the broadband into the rural, everywhere we can. Through satellites is the latest thing some of you might have heard about, read or seen. You might have recently read the news that, like they did in the US, Amazon is very keen to launch satellites in India for their own sales purposes. But in the process, if the rural population can be benefited, why not? So very laudable objective, very solid organization, BIF, and it is the deputy director, next one, is Amrita, that most of you who attended the last session on a similar subject might remember. A very soft-spoken, very good an orator, very good a presenter. She is the director for the Cyber Cafe Association of India, and that is just one of the many, many, many hats that she wears. She's a very dedicated person. One of the things we have in common is that if somebody was to ask me where I come from, I'm a North Indian, but I spent 9 long years in Guwahati, and I still have beautiful memories. I was there when I was just 21 years of age, and Amrita is from Guwahati also, if that can be considered as a connect. And she's very actively, very involved a person when it comes to internet, when it comes to government policies, and what have you. Welcome, Amrita. Our pleasure, and thank you so much for being with us today. Now I'd like to introduce the other speaker from the BIF is Debashish Bhattacharya. Debashish is Deputy Director General, and he has been in the advocacy for a very long time in digital communication, IT and telecom. Welcome, Debashish, and we look forward to your fielding some of the difficult questions that are going to follow after this. Thank you very much for joining. Over to you, Madiha, for taking it forward.
I now welcome Ms. Amrita Chaudhary to please
Thank you,
begin the
Madiha.
session.
Right, thank you. I could see a hand raised is if there is any question someone has. Before I share my screen, I'd like to state that since my screen would be shared, I may not be able to see all the comments, but I will definitely look into it and try to answer your questions. And what we would be doing, while cyber, if we are looking at any of these topics, there is a lot which can be discussed. However, we would be only taking some parts of it based from the questions we got, when the last time we all met to discuss these issues. So without much ado, what we would be discussing today is about how we can be safe from, cyber frauds. All of us are online today. Please do not take it as the all and end all in the subject, but it is our interpretation to help you, when you go in your cyber journey. So if you look at internet today, as Vijay was mentioning, it has become an integral part of our lives. Whatever we do today, we use internet in some way or the other. It may be to transact, it may be to communicate over WhatsApp with our loved ones, family, or even have a video call with our friends, families who are in different cities. It could also be to, order something, to pay our taxes. So, it's something which we have to live with. And when, the COVID-19 situation has further enhanced our reliance on the internet. In case I go too fast, please let me know. I will try to slow down. I would be speaking in English today, but if you want, I will speak in Hindi, if you want it. Or if there's someone in Bengali, I could do it in Bengali, not the other languages. So if we look at it, internet has helped us to empower ourselves, make things easier. If you want to pay a mobile bill or a gas bill, you can do it online, sitting at the convenience of your home. You don't have to stand in a queue. You can pay your, rent. You can pay any of your government taxes online, file income tax. So in some ways, it has helped us to empower ourselves, especially for, senior citizens, because you don't have to stand in the queue and this gives you some amount of advantage. On the other hand, there are certain, just like when you walk in the streets are good if you have bigger lanes. However, if you have to cross those bigger lanes, the risks are higher. But it helps your life. Similarly, when you are online, there are various challenges also which you should be aware of. It's nothing to be frightened about. It is just that you need to be aware that, okay, these are the dangers you may have. Just like, when you're crossing the street, you need to look out for, the cars coming, look left, right. Even if you are on the right side, sometimes in India, you have cars come or bikes coming from different sides. It's just that you need to be aware of things. You don't need to be scared. So what we would be doing is we'll try to share some examples of the different kind of frauds which we have in our common life. There may be more, but I'm just trying to take a few examples so that you can relate to it. And you can also feel free to share certain things which you may have come across. So the first, kind is financial fraud, which is quite common. You get a call from someone saying, okay, your mobile, your ATM card is blocked, or, your credit card is not working. You need to immediately tell us your PIN so that we can reactivate it. So there are various kinds of financial frauds which one faces today. Even the best of the best people are sometimes, conned, I would say. There are, mails like, it's typically called Nigerian scam because these mails originated from Nigeria. And I'm sure many of you may have received such mails that so and so is there, my father has expired and I have this much of money with me which I want to transfer to some person, and you are one of them. If you can respond to my mail immediately, I will have this much of money transferred to you. I'm sure many of you have received such mails. So they're typically, called as Nigerian scams because most of them come from Nigeria, but it comes from other parts of the globe, including India. The other kind which comes is, fake invoice, that you have a bill of so and so amount and you need to pay it. And this is the link through which you need to make the payment. And if you do not make the payment, this service may get disconnected. The other kind is, it says that you may be facing a problem, that your account may be blocked. You need to open this link from your, in a different browser and confirm you are the owner of these services. So there are multiple ways and innovative ways in which people kind of try to con you. And, today Archana was very kind to share with me a message which came to some customer saying that your Airtel documents are pending, your SIM will be closed, please call this number up. And these continue, as in you get all kinds of things. You get, I recently saw my father getting a message that it mentioned BSNL, but it was not BSNL, the number, that your BSNL account would be closed if you do not, call up this number. So these are pretty common. And many times we feel that since, the number would be closed or something, we definitely need to act upon the particular, message which has come. And I'm sure you all have things which you could relate to or examples. But even if we, receive all this, you don't need to be worried so much. It's just that you need to be cautious because, you can be smart online. You are smart people. You have traversed through your life being smart, and you can do it even on the internet. It's not a big thing, just that you need to remember certain small tips about it. And I would start with something called the password, which we use. All of us use passwords. Normally we try to keep it as our name, or we try to keep it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we would urge you that you need to keep a stronger password, perhaps, a combination of alphabets, numbers, alphanumeric, you have the various comma, full stop, etc., a combination of capital, small letter. But I would also say that keep it complex so that people cannot have access to it. At the same time, don't make it too complex that you forget it yourself. So try to keep something which is unique, which you understand. It's strong. Do not share it with anyone, primarily because it's something like you don't share your locker details with everyone. You don't share your house keys with everyone. So password is something which is very personal. Please do not pass away the password, and try to change it regularly. Because if you look at it, many of the systems which we use today get hacked at some point of time. You may recently have heard that Air India's the details between 2012 to 2021, early 2021, was leaked because Air India relies on CETA, and CETA's data had been hacked. So all of us who had used our details were exposed, and Air India has been sending mails about, that the details has been exposed. However, not all details are there. So try to change your passwords if possible, and use two-factor authentication. Now, what we mean by two-factor authentication is that if you have given your password, a PIN comes to your mobile, and then you put in your PIN, because those things are unique. Not everyone will have everything with them, so that you can protect your things. Now, there are some common questions which we had come across and many of you had shared, and I'll take a few of them and try to answer them. One was, should we allow Google to store or save our passwords? I would suggest ideally no. Try not to share these information, because Google might be a secured service. However, many plugins are used, you may be using, or you may be using, which is linked to your Google account, which may get access to the information. So try not to allow these Google or anyone to save the passwords. At times we feel it makes our work easier, but I would say, I would recommend not to. Similarly, there was another question, which was how to retrieve a password if not noted down. So normally what happens is, when you give your password, most of the good systems ask you two questions. They say, what are the two questions, like, for example, your pet's name or where you have traveled or something, so that in case ever you forget your password, it may be asking you the secret questions. Or there is another option. For example, if you've forgotten your password, most of, if it is Google, if it is Facebook, would be asking that, if you go into the option of forgot password, you may have to give your email ID or the mobile number which you are using, and the password, a link would come, and with that you could reset your password. So these are some ways in which you could do so. The other question which was raised was, should Wi-Fi passwords be changed periodically? Ideally, yes. If you can change it at some point of time, it would definitely help if that happens. The other question is how to change password in Wi-Fi router. So for that, I would be sharing a link with you after the presentation. There is a process in which you could do so. For example, if you're using Airtel, you can log into Airtel app, and there is a process to do so. Most of the systems do have it worked out, and you could look at it if it helps you out there. I can see a hand, but I would try to take the questions. Do you want to ask a question now, Binita ji? Or could you wait till we finish the presentation? How would you like to go about it?
I think he needs to be unmuted first. I think he's on mute.
Yes.
Yes,
I can't hear what you're saying. Could you please speak a little louder?
Okay, ma'am, would you look at the volume in your device?
My volume is right.
Okay, am I audible to the others? Is there any?
Yes, Amrita, yes, you're perfectly audible. It could be possibly a lower volume in our member's device. Would request her to please check once again. And Amrita, we can continue with the presentation and take the questions at the end.
Okay, thank you, Archana. So I would be sharing how to change the password in Wi-Fi router with you. The other thing which many of you asked, and I think it is important because we do a lot of shopping, etc., online, is how to spot a fake website. And these are certain things which you could check. For example, when you type in the, on top, you type in the domain name, for example, www.amazon.com. Similarly, many websites, when you go, especially banks, shopping sites, or anything which is authentic, you would see that it starts with HTTPS. And I'll explain what HTTPS is in the next slide, or you would see a small lock out there. So these sometimes show that this website is authentic. As I mentioned, there might be a lock out there which can help you to identify that this is a secured website. And if you are using, antivirus, which is licensed, it would also tell you which site is secure and which site is not secure. When you go into a website, and which is an authentic one, you would be seeing who, below, who has developed it, or their social media platforms, or certain links which show that, yes, it is authentic. Authentic websites do not have grammatical mistakes, and these are certain small things which kind of may trigger your alert antenna that, okay, there may be something wrong if there are some spelling mistakes there. If these are authentic websites, they will have various subsections or various drop downs where you have different sections. So these are certain ways in which you can spot whether a website is authentic or not. Now, there were certain questions which were asked. What is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS? If I speak in layman language, the HTTPS is more secured form of a website, where rather than the HTTP, and it is actually called hypertext transfer protocol. And normally in HTTPS, the information is encrypted. That means it is passed through a secure channel. So ideally, HTTPS is an advanced version of HTTP, and it is these websites are more secure. There was another question which was raised, that is it safe to fill up any Google form? Now, it depends. There are certain services you may be taking, or even for, certain clubs or associations you are, at times they may want you to fill up a Google form. So depending upon whom, for example, if Dignity Foundation is doing something and wants your information, for example, even let's say that Dignity Foundation would have a vaccination drive and has said, whoever wants to participate, please fill up this form. It has come from Dignity Foundation, so it would be authentic. However, if, say, for example, Citibank.com, not bank, sends you a form that you fill it up, it may not be authentic. So you have to use, if you know those people, you could fill up, else you should not. Now, we'll go to emails. We receive a lot of mails, and many of them are fake. So how do we detect them? So we will first, it may show that the mail is coming from, say, Amrita, but and you may say, okay, I know Amrita, and I will open the mail, but you also should see the email address from it, which it has come. For example, if my name, if it is mentioned Amrita, and then there is an email ID 123@xyz.in, it may not be my email ID. If you look at the screen now, what is being shown is, it says an Amazon update. But if you look carefully at the email ID mentioned, it is something else. It says blah, blah, blah .xyz. So, the name you may feel that, for example, it is a friend who has sent you the email. But if you look at the email ID, it is something different. So don't check only the name, but also the email ID. The other thing is the spelling mistake. Most of the time when the emails are sent, the domain name, and if I explain domain name, it is, for example, like google.com or airtel.com, that's a domain name. They are misspelled. If you look at this example, the first one, example domain.com, is the actual domain. And the other one, if you look at the spelling of example, it is EXAMPEL. So very subtle difference, but that's where the, the malicious people work. So it's a subtle difference, but the spelling is incorrect. The other thing is grammatical error. Most of the spams or the phishing mails which come have grammatical error. So this is something you should always watch for. The other is suspicious links. Your Netflix validation failed. Please click this. So if you feel the mail may come from Netflix, but you need to see what the email ID is before you click on these links. The other is that these mails always have an urgency that you immediately have to do it. You just have 2 hours within which you have to call up, or 1 hour before which you have to make the money transfer. They always create an urgency in you, and try to, get it out, con you very fast. Because if you take some time to think about it, you will reflect. You may become cautious, but if you just look at the mail, click it, you will do it, it would be a knee-jerk reaction, and that's what these people want you to do. So these are certain crimes which come, but after taking precautions also, many times we may face some issues, and that's where the reporting part of cybercrime comes. For example, if you're in a social media like Facebook, you're using, I just used a screenshot of my account. You can go, if you go towards the corner, after your name, you'll see some dots. There is something called help and support. So if you go to help and support, there are options like you have the help center, you can report a problem. So in case there is any complaint or there is any issue you notice, you can click the report a problem button, and then you would have some options. Similarly, if you're using the other platforms, you would have, even in your WhatsApp mobile, for example, if you get a message, I'll just try to open my mobile and tell you where it is. For example, if I open any of the messages and then you go into the more section, you would get report, exit group, clear chat. That is, you have to go into the report section and then click. So each of these platforms which you have a reporting device. Similarly, in WhatsApp, for example, if a message comes from an unknown number, you have an option to block it or report it. In case you do not know, like, these days you'll get a lot of messages coming to you that will give you a part-time job where you get 2,000 rupees an hour and you earn about 50,000 rupees in a day. You can block them simply, because these spams are increasing by the day. Similarly, for every bank, there is a banking site, a place where you can report. I was looking, as an example, I took the ICICI Bank website. If you look at this, these slides would be shared with you, so you can look at it clearly at that point of time. If you go into this section, there is something called report a suspicious mail. You can click on it, or you could even email to these people that this is an issue you are facing. And this is applicable to all the banks. Similarly, if there is a cybercrime, you can go to www.cybercrime.gov.in. This is how the website looks, and you can report, you can file your complaint out there. That, in the screen also you would say that you can file a complaint, and it is very easy. In case if we have time, I'll try to go online and show how it could be done. That's of course if we have time at the end after all the questions. Similarly, you can also log in an FIR. Most of the cities have an online cybercrime cell. I have used the Delhi cybercrime website, and you could, and they have a list of the cybercrimes, how you can contact them, and how you can even report it. So there are options. Only thing is you need to know the options and how to do it. Now, okay, so to summarize what we have been discussing, one of the things is please do not share your personal information online, because many times you may be sharing it on a social media platform or other places, but there are people who are collecting these information. You may not know how much information they have about you. And I'm not talking about the platforms, I'm talking about people who lurk in these platforms. Also, please do not share your ATM PIN, card details, or password with anyone. Many times you may get calls saying, please, your account is being closed, or we need it because we need to process a payment. Please give us your CVV number or ATM PIN. Please refrain from doing it. Never ever click suspicious links which say, okay, you are getting 50,000 rupees or you are getting a holiday in some exotic place. It's better not to get, lured by these things, because nothing comes for free. Try to use two-factor authentication, which we had discussed earlier, using your mobile as an alternative to get the OTP or PIN or an alert. It will help you, because many times people do try to do things, and you can be saved from all that. And please, if there is some issue which has happened, please report the cybercrime. What has happened with you should not happen with others. So these are certain points which I would like to summarize. There were certain other questions which were shared with us. For example, Netflix offers a auto subscription and how to deal with it. Honestly, we can't do anything about it, because if you want to use Netflix, you have to use auto subscription. Ideally, it's not the preferred mode, but we do not have any options at this point of time. So there was another question on how to disconnect questions or connections showing on your device. If I understand your question correctly, it was that, when you're logged into your Wi-Fi device, you may be seeing various other Wi-Fi in the location. Well, even if it is there, it doesn't matter as long as you do not get in. However, there are some, if you are using your own Wi-Fi, etc., there may be, you could always say that you do not want to be identified in the network, but it doesn't matter if the other Wi-Fis are showing, as long as you do not try to log in there. Another question was, why WhatsApp call video showing on Facebook, how to stop it? Ideally, it doesn't happen. It only happens if you allow, I have not heard many people having it. And my assumption is that perhaps there was an access given that whatever is shown on WhatsApp can be seen in Facebook. So you may have to go to your settings and see what settings you used. Changing the Wi-Fi router name, I would be sharing that link on how you can change the Wi-Fi details, password. There should be a provision to change your Wi-Fi router name. The other question was, what is a Wi-Fi hotspot? So Wi-Fi hotspots are normally places where people can access internet using a smartphone or your laptop. We use it at home, because earlier internet, we would connect it with I would say cables or wires, but nowadays, since you can connect it over the by installing a Wi-Fi router. Similarly, for example, there are many places, like if you go to the airport, there are hotspot regions wherein you can pay and you can use it for free for 45 minutes, and then after that you use it. So the airport authorities have installed some device through which you can connect by authenticating your mobile number or email ID and use it. Similarly, you may get it in many hotels where you stay or restaurants you go to. Even, for example, Delhi government had a public Wi-Fi in many locations. So if you ask me, are these hotspots safe? Well, it depends. If you're using a very public hotspot, like say something in Connaught Place in Delhi, you may use it just for browsing, but please do not use public Wi-Fi hotspots for your financial transactions, sharing personal information, because there may be people who may be able to access it. However, if you're using it at home, or if you're using a paid Wi-Fi or a private hotspot, that is not an issue. But anyways, hotspot or any other way, please do not do any transactions, financial transactions from a public place, a cyber cafe or other places, because the public networks may be used by many people. So it would be ideal not to use those platforms. And there was someone who had asked about what is KYC. KYC is called Know Your Customer, and this is something which the Reserve Bank of India had introduced, wherein any bank, if you have an account with a bank, or if you want to take an internet connection or mobile connection, you need to give some authentication that you are who you are. It could be your name, your PAN card, your address, electricity bill, or even Aadhaar card or other things, so that the bank can authenticate that you are who you are while giving you an account or renewing your account, etc. We've been discussing a lot of things. Before we take questions, let's try some real life examples. And at this point of time, I would like you to raise your hand if you know the response or share. There's no right, there's no wrong, but we just like to recap certain things which we have learned. So first of all, we would like you to spot the difference between the websites. And I'll give you 2 examples. And you need to tell me which of these is authentic, the first or the second. Let's see, who wants to go for it? Any hands? Anyone who wants to speak? Madiha, is there anyone who wants to share?
Yes, Ms. Baljeet Kaur is raising her hand.
Yes.
I'm going to unmute her. Please unmute yourself, ma'am.
First one.
Great. Yes, the first one is authentic, because if you look at the second one, it has 2 ends. So these are subtle things at times we don't notice, but these help. So we'll go to the next example. We have something called mihome.in, and then we have mihome. Which one do you think is the authentic one? Anyone, Madiha?
Not yet.
Anyone wants to guess? Yes, we think.
Mr. Shettigar. No,
yes. We can't hear you, ma'am. You need to unmute yourself, ma'am.
There are some responses that are coming in the chat as well.
Okay.
So we have Jayaraman saying second. We've got Balakrishnan saying mi.com. A lot of people are responding for the second option.
Great. Thank you. Yes, the second option is the right one. Thank you so much for trying. Now I'll show you a tricky one. 1 second. Let me just see. I think I've somehow got stuck. Let me just. Okay. So these are 2 examples. Which one do you think is correct? It's a bit tricky, but this is used at times. The first or the second? Look carefully. I think Mr. Triveni Murthy and Mr. Kashi.
Yes, Mr. Kashi.
Yes.
First is correct, because the second one, the bank, B-A, A is not A.
Right, absolutely right, sir. The first one has the proper A, and the next one has a Cyrillic A, which is normally not used. So, apparently, if you look at it, it looks same, but if you look at it deeply, And this is something which people have used while conning people. So the next question is, what will you do if, in case your credit or debit card or internet, or you face an internet banking fraud? Anyone wants to guess? You suddenly realize that there has been a fraud in your credit card or debit card or internet banking. I think Mr. Satya Prakash has his hand up.
Please unmute yourself, sir.
First of all, we'll block our, we'll ask the bank to block our any transaction from my account.
Absolutely right, sir. Anyone else? Next processes after blocking it with the bank?
Amrita, there are responses in the chat group.
That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
So people are saying, change my password.
Yes.
Someone is saying, second, with the help of bank, report to the cybercrime cell.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely right. And those are the steps normally which has to be taken. So to summarize, so inform the bank immediately over phone to block your card, or that there has been this kind of a transaction. And after you inform over phone, please do also send an email to their customer support so that you have a trail mail with you. And also retain the, if you have informed in the phone and they give you a complaint tag, please keep it and mention it in your mail. Similarly, block your credit card or debit card, etc. Register an FIR. Now, if you have reported it to the bank and the bank has not taken action for some time, please send a reminder. And each bank has a grievance officer. If your issue you have escalated and it has not been responded, you can raise it to the grievance officer. They have to act. And God forbid, even if that doesn't work, RBI has an ombudsman for each region. Please write to them. For you can go into RBI website, you will get the details. Please write to them. At least I have seen the ombudsman really working. At one point of time, my ATM card, debit card had been stolen, and SBI was not acting the way they had to. And when I actually reported to RBI ombudsman, it expedited things. So there are escalation processes. You just need to use them. So we are open to questions now, and I will stop my screen sharing in case there is anything you want to ask, anything you want to share or ask us, please feel free. I can look at the chat now because I'm going to stop the sharing.
Yes, so we'll begin the Q&A now, and please raise your hands if you have any questions. Our resource persons will address the questions one by one. So we can start with the chat first.
Yeah.
The questions that we have on the chat box.
Madeha, if I may take over.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Amrita, so I will read out the questions from the chat group. The first question which came up was, why do some of the sites insist that we subscribe to the cookie policy? What would be the pros and cons?
Okay, so when you go into a website, the website actually tries to see who is coming in, what they are using, what the usage pattern is. So they collect some basic information, and that is what a cookie is. There are certain informations which are collected, and after, though India doesn't have a privacy rule at this point of time, but most of the I would say services follow the to a certain extent the European mode of data protection, which is called as the GDPR, where certain you have to ask permission that and inform that, okay, these are the services. Do you want to accept it? Do you want cookies to be, some information of you to be collected, etc.? And that's why they ask your permission. Earlier, it would be collected without your information, but here you can consent. If you don't, it will not be collected. Cookies are collected many times so that the websites can market their products. They know who is coming in, what kind of a profile it is. Not everything is bad, because even we want good services. So some amount of information even they require. But of course, how much of information they want is a different question. But prima facie, in standard sites, it's not so difficult.
Thank you, Amrita. There was a related question which came in just now saying, would agreeing to the cookie policy mean our ad block gets disabled? And will we start receiving ads?
No. Ad blocks are completely different. Cookie is some information you're getting. If you do not want ad blocks, you can block it, even at your browser level, except also that, you do not want ads to come in. So cookie policy has nothing to do with ad blocks.
Okay, thanks. We go to the next question, which is, once I received my OTP in automated computer voice, I got very scared and closed my net banking and changed my password. Is this serious?
Actually, I haven't heard of OTPs being sent, an audio OTP. It is suspicious, unless and until you have said you want audio-enabled facilities. But I doubt if anyone is giving that face. Debu, have you come across anything of that kind? I haven't.
Yeah, so Amrita, so it happens in cases that I know of where your connectivity is poor. So what the bank does is that if they are not able to send the SMS due to any reason to you, then the bank has a facility. Some banks, not all, they have a facility to even reach out to you over an automated IVR and read out the OTP to you. But it is very safe to the extent that it goes only to the intended calling party and not to anybody else.
Yeah.
It's not a broadcast mode, it's a unicast between the person who is seeking the password, the OTP, and the person who's giving the password, which is the bank.
Right. If the person has sought for an OTP, right?
That's correct.
It will not come without seeking it.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. Okay. The next question I have is, it says, I would like to know how to put up a background like Amrita has done. How to do a virtual background.
Yeah, so if you go into your Zoom account, not now, later, there is something called as settings. So, it looks like a wheel. You have to go there. And then when you click it, there are many options, out of which there is something called background. So, and then if you go, you can select a background. So they have some standard backgrounds, but if you like some picture, you want to keep it in the background, etc., you can add it out there, and then you can use whichever one. Try it out in case you need any help. I'll help you out.
All right. Thank you. The next question is, Amazon asks for CVV over the internet when you're paying by credit card. Is it safe? And then there is a related question which says, Amazon also asks for the card number.
So we all are giving it. It is pretty secure, but I personally do not like to opt for the auto, they have this option that, save the card details. I don't like to save the card details out there. But normally a big company like Amazon or and others will not, use it in a different way, because they have a lot at stake. If something goes wrong if they maliciously use a person's card details, their entire system, they would get a bad reputation globally. And normally their systems are pretty robust. Of course, it can be hacked at some point of time. That is a different thing, but it's kind of robust. I would say don't allow the auto save of your card details. But again, for convenience, people do it. So or you ask that before it is used, you have to accept the transaction or approve the transaction.
Thank you, Amrita.
Okay, another thing which I would like to share, I forgot before the questions come is, if you want to, limit your transactions, the amount of transactions, etc., you could do so in your credit cards or your debit cards by setting it online. For example, if you say that I don't want my transactions to be more than 5,000 rupees, if there is a transaction going which is more than 5,000, which is 5,200 or 300, the transaction will not happen and you'll get an alert. So as a user, you have the flexibility to manage that what would be the transaction level you set, so that, someone one fine day cannot just take out 50,000 rupees from your account. So those are certain facilities you do have these days.
Right. Thank you. The next question is, some websites don't give an option to close. How does one close them?
By close, you mean?
Shut the website, I guess.
So you have to just go click it, the cross on your browser and close it. Hard press and close it.
Hard press and close it. Okay. The next question. Yesterday, I read a news report in Times of India, Bengaluru, about blocking fraudsters' bank account of 49 crores. And a golden hour of 2 hours was there to report. Is this happening only in Karnataka, or it is happening nationally?
So you mean to say fraudster websites or something? Or a fraudster says, okay, I'm a fraudster kind of a stuff. Good Samaritan. Just like, incidentally, the hackers for the Colonial Pipeline who demanded a huge ransomware, after they took that money and they had few millions in their account, they said, no, we've now become good people. We are not going to, do any such activities. So the Robin Hood kind of things do not much work. But if there is something else which was there, and I didn't understand the question, perhaps.
That's Mr. Kashi Vishwanathan. Yes. He wants to say something. So please go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just to clarify, the report says the victim reported that crime within 2 hours. Then they are able to block the account to which it is transferred.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It can be recovered also. That is
No, absolutely, sir. In any kind of a crime, be it an offline or an online, the faster you report, the faster can authorities work on it. For example, if there is a delay, by that time, even the cyber criminals would have, done whatever. If you can nab it at the earliest, it is easier to track the trail, because afterwards it becomes difficult.
Right. So, is it nationally available or only Karnataka? That is my question.
Yes. So yes, you can report it at the earliest, and that is why the cybercrime portal, etc., helps. The faster you report, they can work faster.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amrit. The next question I have is, what is the difference between FIR and CIR?
I'm sorry, I will have to look at it. I would not know the difference. Debu, do you know the difference? I'm so sorry. I would not be able to answer this, but I can come back to you on that.
I'm afraid I don't either. So would let that pass for a moment.
Kashi, you want to?
Yeah, please. Mr. Kashi, you need to unmute yourself. Sir, you're on mute.
Yes, now I am allowed. What I read in the report is CAR is what is that they call within 2 hours cyber crime incident report.
Yes.
CAR. So if it is done within 2 hours, this type of crime can be, not the crime cannot be prevented, but at least the money will be safe.
Yes.
That is what the report by the Times of India report says. That I know.
Right.
Thank you, sir. It was very valuable information. Thank you.
Second step. That is the second step.
Sure, absolutely. The next question I have, Amrita, is if cards are lost, then do we have to remember the card number to lodge a complaint?
Okay, so normally when you receive a card, you would be, before that a mail would a letter would have come to you that this is the card you are receiving, etc., etc. So ideally, if you have that in your account, you can mention it. The other easier way is always, if you have a card, note down the card details, at least the card number and and your name somewhere, so that you can report it. You just need the card number. So if you can just note your card numbers somewhere, I'm not talking about CVV or the expiry date, etc., but at least your card number somewhere, you can report it.
Thanks. I think we have a few raised hands. Maybe we should take them before we go to the next set of questions. So would request Madam Meena Gupte to kindly unmute herself and probably speak.
Okay, I have been receiving, Madam, a call statement from the cell phone, that you have 3 viruses on your phone. And they're asking me, click here to remove it. So shall I do it?
Please don't do it. Please don't do it. Who's been sending it to you? What is
I don't know if there is a Google who is sending it, or I do not know. But
no, as in when you receive a message, there would be some sender. As in, for example, if I send you an SMS, my name or my number would come. Is it a number? Is it a
no? It's not a number. It's not a no person's name is given also. It's been happening for last 8 days. Now somebody told me not to go in for it, but now since you are here, you can guide us what to do.
So, ideally, don't open it. And if you feel there is some virus in your phone or you have this hesitation, please take an authentic antivirus, get an authentic antivirus, purchase one and use it.
Okay. I will get it anywhere.
You will get it online also. There are Nortons and the others. So it is easy for you to get it anywhere.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
If I may be allowed to, permitted to just add to what Amrita said, madam, is that this may be an advertisement by one of the firewall manufacturers or the antivirus manufacturers who are trying to entice you to buy their software by telling you that you have some viruses. And if you buy my antivirus software, I have detected that you have so many viruses. And if you buy my software, which you can do by a click of a button, there must be a link to the payment site. You will get these viruses will get automatically removed. Now, this could be both a genuine antivirus software organization, or it could be a fake one as well. Therefore, the recommended path, as Amrita has very rightly said, is not to entertain these and to go for a regular antivirus software from the internet, which are known antivirus software. That's all. Thank you. The next, I would request Mr. G.K. Subramaniam, please, to kindly unmute himself and tell us, what he's.
I had earlier asked this question. Some websites don't allow you to close, and they don't have even that cross which you can click and close. So once I had completely switched off my phone and then restarted, at that time it had got closed. But is there any other way of doing it?
So there are some websites, and there would be some sites if you go, like, for example, third-party sites in Facebook also, I have noticed it. For example, there are people who, try all those third-party websites that what were you 10 years back, or, which animal do you, are you like, etc. And by chance, if you kind of go towards them, it's not as if you've clicked them, they come up and they say we are downloading, etc. So they try to grab you, and at times they take the entire screen, and it's difficult to close. I have witnessed that just yesterday, and you don't even see a cross somewhere to close it, etc.
Yes.
So I think at that time a hard cross is the only, hard close is the only way, because as in they try to kind of nab you and get you into their particular things very fast.
Thank you.
Amrita, I have a question. When you say hard close, do you actually mean doing a total shutdown?
No. As in, see, if you go to your mobile, how do I show? Let me just show it. 1 second. Just a second. I'll, Debu, if you can go to the next question, I'll just try to.
Okay. In the meantime, let me read out the next question. The next question says, which is safe, Paytm or GPay? Are you there, Amrita?
Okay. Yes. I'm just trying to, kind of get into.
So
this.
while you are at your laptop, so why don't you answer this question? It says,
I'm trying to get into my mobile to show a hard stop. Okay. So ideally, both of them use platforms which are safe. Transactions in Paytm is also happening a lot. Google Pay, as in, I don't use Paytm, but I do use Google Pay. And they are pretty secure because everyone has been using it. At this point of time, since and they do use encryption when these transactions happen. And there was a question even in the chat, if the payment gateways are safe. Yes, the authentic payment gateways are normally safe, like Razorpay or any of these which we use. I would say that they are safe. The concern may be what they do with your personal data, not your transaction data. That is a different question which comes, but your transactions are safe. I would say that. And just to answer you, when I say hard stop, for example, if you go into a website with your mobile, and I'm sorry, I'm not being able to show my mobile, in your Android app, I don't use an iOS, so I would not be able to say it. If you go to any website, etc., towards the end on your left hand side, there are 3 lines or something which comes. So with that, if you click it, it says close all or something. So you can close all your, it's not a shutdown, it's a closing all the apps which are open. So that's a process which you can use on your mobile, because most of you may be using a mobile more than a laptop or something.
Thank you. That's useful. Yes.
Thanks, Amrita. The next question I have is how to stop WhatsApp photo on Facebook.
Yeah, was a question which was shared. Ideally, it doesn't happen. You would have to check your settings on your WhatsApp and your Facebook, that if you're allowing photographs from WhatsApp to be shared on Facebook. For example, I have seen it when you are in Instagram, and they say that, do you want to share it on on Facebook? So they ask you, and if you may give the access once, or you can opt for it that anytime you post on Insta, it is available on Facebook, or vice versa. But so similarly, I think there is some access which you have given, option which you have opted for, which is showing your WhatsApp pictures on Facebook. Else it would not show directly unless and until you show it.
Thanks, Amrita. The next question is, at times the pop-up message comes. What is this?
Pop-up message on websites?
On WhatsApp, perhaps, to indicate that your data is being shared or your photograph is being shared on Facebook. So what is, I believe, it's from Mr. Jairaman.
Mr. Jairaman, would you like to speak out your question with the example? Then we would perhaps be able to, if you can speak out.
Else we'll move on for the sake of time. Okay. We've answered this one. What is cookie? Is mobile banking safe? Next question.
I guess we don't have any other option today. So I would say it is safe, because companies also have to work. Having said that it is safe, companies today, as in, I would say at least the reputed ones, want their systems to be safe. However, it cannot be 100% safe, because there are people who are trying to fidget around with things and try to find vulnerability, but they also have people who are looking at these vulnerabilities and trying to plug them. So I would say they are safe, as safe can be. For example, a road cannot be 100% safe. Even if they make the best of roads, there would be accidents. It's just that we can prevent them.
Thank you, Amrita. The next question is there any advantage, is there any disadvantage of auto debit?
Okay, yes, Mr. Nagraj, I saw that question, and I was going to say that many of us use auto debit, for example, to repay our loans. We have an auto debit which goes on, or to pay our telephone bills, etc. It helps, it eases things. The only flip side which I see is, for example, you do not want to, you have a telephone bill which has come, and there is a dispute from your end that you have received, say, 5,000 rupees, and it is actually a 2,000 rupees bill. Your 5,000 has gone up, and then you have to literally go after the company to dispute and get them to agree that it is not 5,000, it is 2,000. So it eases things, but this is just a flip side which is there. But if it is a reputed bank or someone with whom you're doing, I don't think that an issue, and it's a personal preference.
Yeah, thanks. The next question is how to block SMS messages from companies without phone numbers.
That's a tricky thing. Even TRAI till today has not been able to do it. I have opted for a DND, that is do not disturb, but till date I get all the messages from everywhere, and there is someone called Vineet Saris from whom I never visited, but every single day I get a message. I do not know where the shop is, but every day I get a message from Vineet Saris without fail, and now even on WhatsApp. So this is a perennial problem. TRAI is also trying to do things, but they have not been successful.
Okay, Amrita, if I may be permitted to just add to what you said. Yes, indeed, these messages come from telemarketers, and this problem of telemarketing and bulk messaging, which they do to attract people to their platforms, whether they are selling loans, bank loans, or selling houses, or they're selling saris, as Amrita just pointed out, etc., etc. But the fact is that these are telemarketers. They are not allowed to disclose their numbers. They are, as per law, allowed to only send bulk messages with a small prefix which tells you that which organization they belong to, or which class of organization, whether they are from the banking organization, or they are from the retail side, or they are from the insurance company. So that prefix, and there are codes by which you can decipher. If you go to the TRAI website, the TRAI has listed down these codes so that you can identify which category of companies they belong to. Now, that was the first part. The second part is that TRAI, yes, has been struggling with this for many years now, despite the fact that people opted for do not disturb. Despite that, also the messages kept flowing, and it's still flowing. But of late, TRAI has now imposed upon all the service providers, that is the telecom service providers, that they are now required under law to implement what is called a blockchain-based technology, which will help decipher the regular messages from these telemarketing messages. Now, implementation of this took almost TRAI 2 years to fight with the telcos, because it involved a lot of technology change and a lot of investment into the network. But all of them have now started implementing it, perhaps to reach a level where it can take off. It may take another probably 6 months, but hopefully things are in place now to ensure that in future you will not get such spam messages from these telemarketers. So there is a work which has been done in the past 2 years between the TRAI and the telcos, and they are now implementing it. It is now law, so they have to do it. There is no way out. I just wanted to add to that. Thank you.
There is another easy way which I use.
Yeah, go ahead.
Something called Truecaller. You could have it. I don't use Truecaller completely. To you know that there is a facility called Truecaller. You can download it in your mobile and use. So if you have any calls coming, if there is a spam call and they know it's a reported spam, it comes in red. The only thing is Truecaller may want you to use while making any calls or receiving any SMS. They may want you to go via Truecaller, but you can bypass it by saying that no, I want to use my regular calling way. So I use Truecaller when the calls come. Just let it ring for 3-4 times. You can see if you don't know the number, it kind of flashes who the person may be.
Yeah, thank you, Amrita. Let's go to the next question. It says, when you buy an online air ticket, instantly you start getting hotel options from that city. Why is it so?
So normally when you buy an airline ticket, say from makemytrip.com or something, so they have all the facilities, and actually they get more money when you book a hotel or book a cab to the hotel, etc. So they have that information shared within their own company divisions, and you start receiving messages that do you want a cab to pick you up from the airport or from your home to the airport, etc., and everything. So this is something which they play around with. Unfortunately, we do not have a privacy or a data protection regime now that you can say that no, I don't want to opt for this service. So that's there. And Anjali ji, I think we did speak about auto debit. It is if you are using a legitimate service like a bank's loan or some electricity bill, etc., they are pretty legitimate, and it eases your the way you work. We are at 6:15. I don't know. Archie.
There's one raised hand for quite some time, Mr. Ramani Iyer. Please go ahead. Mr. Ramani Iyer, please unmute yourself.
And that will be your last question, please. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yes, you are.
You see, you gave us two examples, rather sort of a quiz to find out how to find out a fake or a spurious website or domain name from the original one. At the same time, as a crime prevention measure, is somebody blocking out all such spurious names, like what you said, Amazon with 2 N's and Citibank with the wrong A. If that is done, apart from creating awareness, that sites get blocked and then they don't circulate in the network. That's is some organization doing that, please? Thank you.
Yes. So when you report a fraudulent website, normally they are taken down, but the issue is that there are ways in which 2 more or 3 more crop up somewhere. So when you report such fictitious or spurious websites, they are taken down, and there are things like organizations who are looking at the domain name services, the DNS abuse which happens, the domain name service, as in, because these are called these websites, etc. Like when COVID started, there were many fake COVID related websites which came out, and they were being taken down. Even World Health Organization actually spoke about it, that there were a lot of fake websites which are coming up with all this. So when these are abuses, domain name abuses, and updated, they are taken down. Having said that, there are people sitting there to make some other website in some way and come up. But yes, they are taken down. There is action taken on them.
Yeah. So over to you with that. I think we'll hand over to Archana to take the floor, please.
Thank you so much. I'm sure all our attendees, all our members and guests have learned a lot today about keeping themselves safe. And this has been a very informative session. As always, Amrita, you took all our questions so very patiently. And Devashish, thank you again so much for being an excellent moderator. So on behalf of Dignity Foundation, I'd like to thank this wonderful platform of Broadband India Forum. You have really, really helped us to understand where we can be more cautious, where we can take the relevant steps to report cybercrime. I'm sure our members will now start being a little more aware when they surf the net or they use their gadgets. Thank you once again. I would be, this vote of thanks would be incomplete without mentioning our trustee, Mr. Vijay Pava. Thanks to his recommendation, we've had the Broadband India Forum session twice now. And yet we feel that, you know, a few months down the line, we might be coming back because there's so much out there that we still don't know. So very, very knowledgeable session. Thank you once again.
And thank you, Madiha.
Yes.
In particular.
A heartfelt thanks. Yes. A heartfelt thanks to all the people behind the scenes, even the head office team. Ably supported us in putting up this program. So thank you once again, all members, all guests, our resource persons. Thank you. And so we move to this session's end today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Archana. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Pava. Thank you, Archana. Thank you, Madiha. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of the members who patiently listened to us and heard us out. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody.
Yeah.